Welcome to the Chilling Current. We have an interesting story for you. This story will definitely make you rethink reality. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the podcast.
This was the last thing Riley sent before they disappeared. A single blurry Polaroid of a pier at night, swallowed by rising water. Look closely at the bottom corner, and you can see a hand breaking the surface. On the back, Riley wrote, "It happened again." Riley mailed this while fleeing as far inland as possible. They sought out the driest, most landlocked terrain they could find, desperate to put 1,000 miles of dirt between themselves and the nearest shoreline. They weren't running from a storm or a person. Riley was attempting to outrun a specific set of images that had begun to play in their mind. Images that felt less like imagination and more like a visceral, physical threat. In Riley's hometown, a bad feeling isn't a superstition. It's a death sentence. For decades, whenever someone there predicted a disaster, they would survive the event itself, only to be found dead in the aftermath. To understand who that hand in the photo belongs to, we have to look at the history of these lethal premonitions. The first documented case was a teenager named Hannah. She ran into the town square screaming that the bridge was going to collapse. She said she could hear the metal groaning and feel the water pulling her down. When the bridge did collapse 2 days later, no one was on it. But Hannah was found in the river shortly after. No one knew how she fell or why her hands were covered in thick orange rust. The pattern repeated for a decade. A fisherman foretold a freak storm. He survived the waves, only to drown in a calm, shallow puddle the next morning. A school teacher anticipated a gas leak and cleared the building. She was found dead in bed that night, despite no signs of illness or foul play. A mechanic predicted a massive highway pileup. Hours after the crash, he was found crushed under his own car in a locked garage. Before they died, each of these people insisted on the same detail. They weren't seeing the future. They were remembering it. The curse operates in reverse. These victims die because they recall a version of the past that is finally beginning to manifest in our present. Riley's experience started last year with an overwhelming certainty that the old town mill would burn. They begged people to listen, and when the mill was reduced to ash at 11:42 p.m., the town stopped laughing. From then on, Riley was haunted by a memory of their own death at the pier. They felt the cold water and heard a voice whispering that it was finally their turn. An elder in town named May explained that some specific people have a biological sensitivity to the way time branches. She suggested that the disasters we see aren't isolated events. A single timeline splits. Top path, disaster avoided. Bottom path, fatal. Sensitive people recall the reality where they didn't survive. But vividly remembering the fatal timeline creates a bridge. It pulls that deadly outcome into the present, until the two paths become one. Riley's peer visions were the physical mechanism of this merger. Their prediction was actually the reality of their death slowly catching up to them. Riley thought that by fleeing to the desert, they could break the connection. If there was no pier and no water, the memory would have no way to manifest. Then came the photograph. The hand breaking the surface of those waves is Riley's own. It is the version of them from the other timeline, reaching across the void to claim the survivor. Geography is irrelevant once the memory is complete. When a fatal timeline fully overwrites your reality, the ocean will find you in the middle of a desert. Next time you have a sudden, inexplicable sense of danger, take a moment to look at the details. Consider if you're seeing a warning, or if you're finally remembering a version of yourself that didn't make it.
You've reached the end of today's current, but the chill doesn't stop here. If your pulse is still steady, you're braver than most. Hit subscribe, tap the bell, and step back into the current tomorrow. Until then, stay aware, stay alert, because the next chill might already be behind you.